All right. You guys are like mummies or something.
Just stay still.
We've got Zach here, who's our account manager, and this is Sam Gray, who is our purchasing manager. Wanted to talk about a project that we were just kind of discussing in the back, and really kind of the flow of what that was, but really on a higher level, how the changes that we've made within the organization have impacted that, because I think that that's really the key takeaway from this. Quick summary of the story. We had a customer contact us that as a facility manager moved to a new property and needed padlocks. Yeah, I can do that. And then a lot of other things exploded from that. When Sam got into a point with a purchasing aspect, then he said, where do I go from here? Zach came into play from a sales perspective. Then Zach takes this, sets up a meeting with the guy. We have a meeting with him on Thursday morning at 8:30. By 10:30, 11 o'clock, we have a quote to install 250 locks in this building. 265, if anyone's counting. Which took a team effort to do. By noon, the project manager was already in place and had his team assembled and prepped to go do an installation on the next Monday.
Yes.
You were talking about how the different aspects of the departments, how over the past 24 months or less, we've implemented a sales department
And a purchasing department or service department, project management.
What we were discussing was this was kind of the flow of that. By the way, this is a nice graph paper that was given to us by Buffalo Security in Boulder, Colorado.
And so a quote would come in and we would take care of that. Once the quote was approved, it would move to purchasing where parts would be ordered and brought here. Once those came in, then it moved to the service department who would get it scheduled, and then we would go to a project management.
What was the problem with that?
You have a lead time for getting a quote, then you have a lead time for getting parts, then you have a lead time for when we can get it scheduled. The next one didn't know anything about the project until it came to their table. You've got, number one, a long time between sales and project management, and also a disconnect between information.
And so you kind of came into play under the purchasing aspect, and then helping hand over to project management, but there was a bit of a disconnect here.
Correct.
So the problem with this is there was some communication happening, but it was in small spurts and it was progressive communication. Correct. It wasn't. And one of the focuses that we've had obviously has been trying to improve our communication with not just correct but complete. And so in this sense, we were giving correct information down the line, but it was not necessarily complete, where sales should have been communicating with project management and all that. So essentially what you described, now we have sales, purchasing, service, project management. So we've changed it from that to more so this.
And we're all established enough in our individual apartments that now we can all come into a project at one time, communicate about it.
What's the benefit for us, and what's the benefit for our customers?
Well, number one is we're all in communication. So no matter what, if someone doesn't know about the project, then it gets all messed up, and then it was all chaos. Now it's everybody's on the same page. So if a customer calls, anybody he talks to in our company pretty much knows what's going on with that project, knows when we're doing it, how we're doing it, and who are the people in place to get that done. Every
department has their own strengths and weaknesses, and they have some things that they know a lot about and some things in the process they don't know anything about. And so this allows us to all play to our strengths and allow others to cover for our weaknesses.
In that old process, if there wasn't trust built amongst those individuals, it almost created a distrust, because whatever happened in sales didn't necessarily impact project management until at the end. Here you can build, if you do this correctly, then you're building trust amongst your entire organization to where sales can communicate more effectively with everybody, and purchasing, and so then you essentially turn and build more equal trust throughout your whole team, because you have to trust the fact that sales is doing what they're supposed to be doing, service, you'll have a better outcome.
Right.
Yeah. So what are our customers seeing with that? Because obviously a lot of this stuff is internal, but
the number one thing is that they're getting a much quicker response time. No matter what question they have, they're getting an answer a lot quicker. Also, they're getting a more complete service, whereas before, you know, they would get, when they were talking to sales, they would get a sales service. When they're talking to purchasing, but now they're getting the entire department, the entire team at one time. And so there's no disconnect with the customer either. They're getting our entire process at once.
We've been talking about this a lot, and I'm really excited to see how this is kind of played out. And just in this instance that we were talking about, the kind of scenario we talked about at the beginning, that was like once we got on site for the first meeting, that was about a 4-hour time frame when all that came to place, and then we're going to be there in a couple of days to get started. All right, guys, good work.